Okay, welcome to today's webinar on solar incentives in Missouri. Thank you very much for joining us. We have a very educational webinar planned for today to talk about how the incentives in Missouri make solar more affordable for everybody. My name is Eric Schneider. I'm the Director of Business Development here at StraightUp Solar. I'm in charge of managing the Grow Solar Group Buy programs that are currently happening in St. Louis and in the Metro East. And I will be joined by our project developer, Jimmy Dixon, who brings 10 years of experience in the renewable industry. He's one of our top project developers and is also active in the Grow Solar St. Louis and Grow Solar Metro East program. So I'm just going to set up the agenda for today's webinar, and then Jimmy will then describe the specifics of how incentives can work and help make the array more affordable for you. Little background on StraightUp Solar. Our vision is to care for others by creating a path for clean energy and sustainable economy that honors our values and everyone's healthy shared future. Our company was founded in 2006 by an orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Dan Glick. When Dr. Glick was doing his residency in Western Kentucky, he was concerned about the removal of mountaintops for coal mining. And he said when he finished his residency, he wanted to give back to the community and really address the situation of air pollution in our economy. So when he finished his residency, he moved to St. Louis, got settled in, and he wanted to put a solar array on his home. When he looked in the phone book and saw that there was no solar installers, he decided to become one himself. He passed the NABCEP certification for a solar installer and put an array on his house. His neighbors thought that was pretty cool and then asked him to put an array on their house, and one led to another. 14 years later, we now have 1,300 installations, and we now are located in Central Illinois, Southern Illinois, and St. Louis. We're proud to have won 12 Midwest Renewable Energy Group Buy programs, of which I mentioned Grow Solar St. Louis and Grow Solar Metro East, which are just starting now. We're really proud to be part of an Amicus Collaborative, a group of about 30 companies all across the country that share best practices and allow us to purchase our panels and our equipment at a lower price and pass that savings on to you. We have currently 75 employees, of which all have this NABCEP certification, which I encourage everybody to look for when they're looking at a solar installer. That stands for the North American Board Certified Energy Professional Certification. We're also proud to be a Tesla Powerwall and REC Premium installer, which allows us to have not only a 25-year warranty on the panels, but we also offer a 10-year workmanship and production warranty for everything that we do. One of the things I wanted to highlight was our Certified B Corporation. We're really proud of this designation, which puts us in the company of Patagonia, King Arthur's Flour, Method Soap, which means that we're companies that are really committed to being a force for good. We are measured from a third party to make sure that we are achieving the triple bottom line of not only just improving our own profitability, our own sustainability, but helping the planet and helping the people that do that. And we strive to make sure that we're doing our best in all those three categories, helping our workers, helping our customers, and then helping the environment. So again, we're really proud to be a Certified B Corporation. I encourage all of you when you're doing your shopping to look for the label for Certified B Corporations, because we are all businesses using our power as a force for good. Finally, I want to mention why we're doing today's webinar. These are our clear values, and we're really passionate about educating our community about the value of solar and leading a solar tribe throughout the region. Right now, probably about 2% of the nation's energy is from solar. We sure are working hard to get that number higher. So being part of the community, leading the solar tribe, educating, advocating for better solar policy, respect for the people and planet, and excellence in all we do. These clear values are what drives us from the installer to the salesperson to our back office administration. All of us try to lead with clear values, and we appreciate our customers giving us feedback if we're achieving our clear values. So again, just to recap, I'm Eric Schneider. I'll be your moderator for today's panel. I'm going to kick it over to Jimmy to lead off our presentation on solar incentives in Missouri. And here's our agenda. We're going to talk about the investment tax credit at the federal level, the Ameren Missouri rebate that's eligible for Missouri residents. We're going to put it all together and how it looks on your final bill, and then we'll take some questions and answers. So with that, I'll turn it over to our senior project developer, Jimmy Dixon.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us, but even a bigger thanks for investigating the opportunity to go solar, whether you end up coming into the StraightUp Solar family or whether maybe you refer a neighbor, friend, or family member. We would very much appreciate explaining the solar opportunity here in Missouri to them as well. Okay, so as Eric mentioned, there are a couple incentives in the state of Missouri. One is a federal tax credit, which this year is 26%. There's an opportunity in 2020 to obtain a 26% investment tax credit before it steps down to 22%. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in a slide or two. And then you also have a rebate when it comes to Ameren or the old KCP&L or Empire. As far as municipalities and co-ops, unfortunately, there are no solar rebates, but we might be talking to a lot of people here in Ameren land, and there is indeed a solar rebate. Next slide, thank you. All right, so as I mentioned, the tax credit currently is 26%, and that is for an installation here in 2020. If you get installed in 2021, it drops to 22%. And as you notice, in 2022, there is no residential solar tax credit. There will be a 10% commercial investment tax credit for solar, but again, the residential goes away in 2022. So the opportunity this year is 26%, next year 22% for resident. First of all, we always like to tell our customers, prospective customers, it's best to talk to whoever does your taxes, whether it's a CPA or an accountant, or maybe you do your taxes yourself, but we suggest going to a tax professional. With that said, we're going to give you a high level as to how the tax credit works. It was enacted in 2006 and it was extended in 2015. It exists for residential and commercial properties, and it's a dollar for dollar credit against your Fed tax liability. There are some carry forward aspects, which we'd be more than happy to talk to you about that detail if you couldn't use the entire tax credit the first year. And in certain circumstances, you can actually go back a year. And it is calculated on the entire scope of work. For example, I have a number of customers that wanted to, or they needed to take their electrical amperage from 100 amp service on up to 200 amp service in order to go solar. And so if you're doing an electrical upgrade along with your solar project, the benefit there is the tax credit can be calculated on the entire project cost. And the federal tax credit is for the individual or individuals that own the array. And as we talked earlier, the credit phases down next year to 22%. Okay, the Missouri rebate situation with Ameren's rebate in particular. As I mentioned, it also is the old KCP&L, Evergy, and Empire Electric. And rebates are offered until 2023. Actually, it depends on if the money's still around. The money is there right now, 25 cents a watt. That's based on your array size. Very simple calculation. And when that money is exhausted, there likely will be no rebate for the foreseeable future in the state of Missouri. So again, you have two calls to action, if you will. The federal tax credit is going to step down. The rebate isn't going to last forever, but they're both available for Ameren customers as we speak. And also Ameren and many co-ops and municipalities do have net metering agreements. Ameren works on a 30-day true-up. The municipalities and co-ops, they all have a different net metering agreement if they have net metering. So that's a case-by-case situation. Our team is very familiar with most all co-ops and munis, but in the event you're in a municipality that we have not done a project, which is pretty unlikely, seeing as though we've done over 1,300, as Eric mentioned, we will get that net metering agreement from the utility and find out exactly what advantages and what their program allows you to do when it comes to solar. Okay, next there, Eric, thank you. Okay, so let's talk about net metering for a second. I like to use this example. Here, Eric and I are talking to you on April 14th. Happens to be a very sunny day, not too cold, not too warm. So if you had solar on your house on a day like today, and you weren't in quarantine and you were at work and the kids were at school, you wouldn't be using much energy in the house. But the solar array on your roof would be producing a tremendous amount of energy because it's such a sunny day. What happens in a situation like that? Well, with net metering, what happens is the house is going to consume what it needs first. Then you're going to have a lot of excess power that the house isn't consuming. Well, it's going to flow back through your meter out onto the grid. And with a net metering agreement, the utility is going to keep track of what you have sent out on the grid. And now you have a credit. So let's continue with my example. Let's say it's April 14th, nice day. You come home now at night, and it's 7 o'clock, and the solar panels aren't producing anymore because the sun is down. And you're cooking, TV's on, playing some music, lights are on. Maybe you do something with your thermostat that increases the energy load. The point is now you're consuming energy, but your array is not producing energy. Well, what happens is those credits that you had sent earlier in the day out onto the grid, you now pull back through your bidirectional meter, and you're going to use those credits first, dollar for dollar. That's the value of net metering. So in a month, say, when you draw 1,000 kWh from the grid, but you've sent the grid 900 kWh, well, net metering means 900 from 1,000, 100 kWh is all you're going to be billed for with the utility. Okay, so putting this all together, let's walk through a scenario, a typical scenario in our group buy or even outside of our group buy. Let's say a home solar array for this house is 7.5 kW. The project cost for such an array would be around $23,625. The Ameren rebate, 25 cents a watt, is simply calculated on the 750 watts that 7.5 kW represents, and you get an $1,875 rebate. Now, StraightUp Solar handles all of the paperwork for that rebate to be processed, and you receive the check yourself directly in the mail a couple months after you're commissioned and your solar array is up and running. Okay, the investment tax credit would be calculated by taking the $23,625, the project cost, backing out the Ameren rebate, and taking what's left times 26%. And therefore, the tax credit on this project would be $5,655. Total incentives, $7,530. That ends up being about 1/3 of the project cost is paid for in incentives in this scenario, which is a typical residential system. Some are smaller, of course, some are bigger. Very easy to work with StraightUp Solar. There's 5 basic steps. To get started, we have a team of support specialists that will gather some information from you, your address, of course, so that we can also get your Ameren account number or a bill so that we can take a look at your 12-month usage, which is very important to size the system correctly. And that allows us to do a design on your specific roof and see what size system can fit on your roof, and then compare that, the production of that system, to what your 12-month usage looks like, and we can potentially downsize if need be, or upsize if possible. And then our project managers are excellent to work with. They, in all likelihood, have dealt with your municipality on permitting a number of times before, and they take care of all the engineering, all the design work, all the permitting process. And then our project managers will be in contact with you as far as working around your schedule to schedule an installation. Installation for a small system like we just went over, if the weather cooperates, could be in and out in a day. Typically, no more than 2 days unless weather interrupts. And then we energize your system along with Ameren, and you are producing your own power.
Again,
Sure.
for those of you who are viewing out there, feel free to schedule a time if you want to have a specific site assessment with Jim Dixon. There's a link on the chat room, or you can email Jimmy directly at jim.dixon@straightupsolar.com, or his phone number 314-620-5540.